I don't know.
Like, what exactly is he doing?
Is that your biggest thing?
He's a guy that I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I never liked him. Thought he was a fraud. Doesn't mean he can't be a good football mind, just not my head coach. Like, you could be a really good number two. Norv Turner, great example. I think he's one of the great number twos in the history of the game. Hate him as my head coach. Love him as my offensive coordinator. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that are Monty Kiffin. Monty Kiffin, one of the great architects of defense. Don't know if I like him as a head coach. Vic Fangio, who we've referenced many times. Great defensive coordinator. Don't think I want him as my head coach. So Brandon Staley not being a head coach and not even being a coordinator, we're going to talk a lot about him. What's he doing? They asked Nick Sorensen, is he going to be on the field or in the booth? They asked Staley about Staley. Sorensen about Staley.
Here it is.
Really just how I said it. It's more holistic. He's been kind of helping me overall. He's been involved with pretty much everything, as far as we did this. I've been kind of talking him through how we play certain things, watching stuff throughout the league and what other teams do, some of the things that he did. Would this fit? Would it not fit in our defense? And some things I was already familiar with just watching different defenses. You naturally see other defenses do things. And he's been more connected with the DBs and the nickels and but he also has experience elsewhere with DNs and outside linebackers. But with the staff that we have, I think for me, it's going to just be really helpful that he's done it before and he's had success and he's been a head coach as well. So it's just, like I said, it's been great.
So they don't know if he's going to be in the booth or on the field. But look, I like having guys who have experience being a head coach. I know Brandon Staley, the way he coaches, drove a lot of people crazy. Going for it on every fourth down and some of the things he said.
He's just making no adjustments on defense when that's his side of the ball.
But not only that, just the way he handled losses, pressers, going at media members. Smug. He needs to take this is the perfect role for Brandon Staley right now. So I don't mind having him on staff because he was an okay DC. He'll see some things here. I it's just like the Warriors, right? I'm looking at the Warriors. I'm saying, I wouldn't mind Frank Vogel being on the bench next to Kenny Atkinson and Steve Kerr.
Frank's getting a raw deal, dude.
He is getting a raw deal.
I mean, come on.
But I would, that's how I think.
No, I'm
more
with you.
Experience, the better.
But Frank Vogel actually knows stuff. I think Brandon Staley got elevated. If you just look at his resume, it's not like he's been in the NFL forever.
No doubt.
He's kind of a short-term guy, and I just think that he wowed everybody in an interview. He's got a lot of Nick Mangini vibes, if I'm being 100%
So you don't like him in the building?
Eric Mangini?
Eric Mangini. You want to say Nick Mangini? Eric Mangini. Mispronunciation.
There you go.
No, it wasn't mispronounced. Just misfirst. Yeah. You're good.
But remember when the Niners were going to hire Mangini as the head coach and everyone was like, absolutely not.
Well, that was a terrible staff.
And then they're like, we'll bring him in as an advisor. It's like, okay. And then he's going to help on offense. What? Remember that? So weird.
He was coaching tight ends.
No, you're laughing.
He coached the tight ends.
I swear to God, that's what they were going to do.
He coached the tight ends. What, didn't Eric Mangini coach the tight ends with the 49ers?
Right. I remember Eric Mangini getting a lot of commercials when he was the New York Jets coach.
Sopranos.
He had remember the Razor flip phone? He had that phone in a commercial, and they were roasting because he was streaming. He was like, oh, wow, you could stream on your cell phone. And then he takes the Razor and he throws it, and it sticks right into the car. It's like our sharpest razor ever. And it's the Razor phone. There you go.
Sure, that's a good commercial.
Remember he coached the Cleveland Browns for a year?
I do.
Too. Now he's out the league. Now he's on television.
I think he's with Skip Bayless still on Fox.
When I was with Belichick, this is what we did. It's like the amount of
that
people...
That was a 4 for your Mangini. That was pretty good.
The amount of people eating off the Bill Belichick tree is just unreal. It's so supple. I mean, you've got Charlie Weiss. You've got Romeo Crennel.
I like Romeo.
I mean, you've got Mike Lombardi.
Yeah.
Mike Lombardi. I was around Belichick sniffing his farts for a while, and let me tell you, this is how we got it done. Dude, you were there 5 seconds.
Let me tell you when I was with Bill Walsh, and the way we did it down in Redwood City.
Al Davis once told me. It's like, oh my
God. Al Davis once told me. And Al Davis would just click on me. Just hang up the phone. The fact that he worked. Think about Michael Lombardi. He's been so lucky. He worked with Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells,
and now he's
Belichick, Al Davis. What did he do to get those gigs? All right, Sorensen. What do you want out of this defense? What will the identity be of the 2024 49ers defense?
I want them to see that we're still the standard of what we've always been, an attacking defense that plays fast, we play violent, we play with speed, and we finish.
It's pretty cliche.
One more time.
I want him to see that we're still the standard of what we've always been, an attacking defense that plays fast, we play violent, we play with speed, and we finish.
All right, Nick Sorensen, what do you think got you the job?
I think you'd have to ask Kyle and John and ownership. I think I was here. I understand the defense, familiarity with it, with the guys, and how we play, what's expected. I think we all know what we expect out of the defense and our team, so probably have to ask Kyle about that.
So speaking of Kyle Shasky, I'll play this right now.
Yeah, because I have the real answer.
Because I want to know, because we know Kyle and Steve Wilks, that relationship soured fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And it may have happened on a Minnesota game, Monday Night Football, when you ran a cover 0 blitz right before halftime.
It's the worst call I've ever seen in my life.
It's one of the
in a regular season game.
It's not a good call. It's not a good call. Turin Addison goes to her touchdown. It's a cover 0 blitz. You give up a touchdown. It was 16-7 at that point. But what's your relationship like with Kyle Shanahan right now, Nick Sorensen?
Yeah, now I'm more connected with him. We talk a lot more. You have to. I mean, he's very busy being the head coach and running the offense and stuff. I think now you have a little bit more free time. It's been cool, especially with what we've done with the draft, having just going through the draft and kind of talking through, even before that with free agency, like what our team looks like and what we need it to look like and who we want to target. So in that respect, it was a lot more connected with him.
So far, what are your thoughts with Nick Sorensen? Because we got a few more cuts.
Well, I think
we've got a few more things.
Let's just start here. Like, why is Nick Sorensen the defensive coordinator? Players like him.
Yeah.
I think to me, that's me reading between the lines. It's the players like him. Clearly, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, the high-paid defensive guys that are the leaders on this team, specifically on that side of the ball, didn't like the way Steve Wilks went about whatever it was, calling plays, front end connecting to the back end, specific blitzes in specific spots. The calls that were being made didn't mesh with what these guys are accustomed to doing.
Right.
And this guy has familiarity prior to Steve Wilks getting here and understands what these players want, and I think that the players clearly like him. So to me, that's number one.
So, speaking of his relationship with Nick Bosa, here it is.
Nick's great. I mean, you never have to question how he's working. We hope to get him here in a couple of weeks, for, like he always comes back here towards the end. And relationship's great. I mean, he's one of the best in the league, and he was, Defensive Player of the Year for a reason. I think a lot of the stuff that gets overlooked is how he plays in the run game. He's real physical. He's not just a guy that can get to the quarterback and affect it, which he does that at an elite level also. All
right, what about the lessons you learned from last year, Nick Sorensen?
Taking it, and it was also about protecting it, too, our offense and special teams involved in that, too. Kyle does the meetings on – well, I think you learn every year. I think for me it's more just getting prepared for the season and getting our players prepared and our staff and everybody prepared that we're playing and presenting it to our players in this, with one voice, and we're doing it all with the same direction. And that, again, like I said, speed, violence, and finish is what I want it to look like.
Speed, violence, and finishing. I like violence. I love speed. I love when they finish the tackle or finish a play. So far, not mad at him. He's answering everything, Nick Sorensen. I've been dying to get to know this guy. What does he sound like? What does he look like? How does he wear his hats? I get supervised from him, but you know what? Guy came off well. Seems like, all right, let's see it.
I actually think he has a really difficult job this year, and we can get into this later on as we gear up for the season. I mean, we're in May, and the real season doesn't get rocking and rolling until about August 1, So they hit the first two DCs, and I think the second one even better than the first one. Robert Saleh ended up being a hit.
Right.
It was really rocky at first. I think the personnel upgraded. He got better. He grew. I mean, he did. He grew into the job. But DeMeco Ryans was clearly an outstanding hire. Clearly, the guy has chops to be a head coach. I mean, he's a special human being, DeMeco Ryans. The third hire didn't go as well. And although they still had a good year, and although a lot of the metrics would tell you that they were still a very good defense, it didn't mesh. And I think there was a human, personal touch, whatever you want to call it. The players and him didn't vibe. And I think on the biggest stages, at the biggest moments, there was some huge gaffes. Huge gaffes. Now, I would say some of the players need to accept some responsibility on some of those gaffes. I think that the personnel department should look at some of the backups that they had playing in certain spots. but whatever.
Also
Okay.
thought you missed Hufanga last year in that back end. That was a big losses.
On the Super Bowl.
You know, Tashawn Gibson regressed last season.
Yes.
He regressed mightily. I thought you got good years from Diameter Lenore. I really do. Traveris Ward was really good. But the defensive line, and that's what I wonder about the defensive line, and we're going to play a cut from Sorensen in a second about the D-line. That was the biggest regression for me because as deep as they were, they did not play well against the run or the pass. That was a very subpar unit a season ago, the defensive line. That's why I go to Chris Kosaric and I go to Nick Bosa and I go to those big boys up front saying, you did not play well.
Yeah.
Hargrave did not play well. He didn't. Kinlaw, it's okay. Armstead got hurt. Gregory, MIA. Drake Jackson got left in Pittsburgh after having 3 sacks in the opener. Who else did they trade for? They traded for Chase Young. You got 2 games out of Chase Young. 2.
Well, I thought the best game of the year for the defensive line was the first week against Pittsburgh.
And the Super Bowl.
And like everything else was kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I'm with you on that one. It's just, I think that he's got a difficult job ahead of him. I don't think this defense is as good. You're missing Dre Greenlaw for, let's just say right now, a quarter of the season, and it could be half the season.
Could be 10 games.
He could come back and not even be close to the same player. Like, we'll see. I remember Michael Crabtree came back the year of the Achilles.
He wasn't the same.
Just wasn't even close.
He was a little overweight. He was a little overweight.
It wasn't
just
the same.
tough.